Let's hear from Nav in India. Nav says, how can I grow as a creative? How can I overcome the fear of being stuck in a box and creating the same content over and over and over? I assume musicians might worry about this more than anyone, maybe writers too. Although some writers really lean into it, and sometimes that's okay. I mean, I think of two people who really stand out to me. One is well, he's a radio host, is Dave Ramsey. We did his show last time we were in Nashville, and he basically does the same thing over and over and over. He answers people's questions about money, but he does so masterfully. So I guess the first question I would ask is, what's wrong with doing the same thing over and over?
Yeah.
And that's something we have to think about. Now, as a creative person, I know that for me, I'm like, well, I wrote this book. I don't want to rewrite that book over and over. And I'm sure when you're doing albums, you're not like, well, no, I don't want to keep doing Lost and Found over and over and over, flying upside down because people really like, this particular song. You're like, well, I already did that. If I don't need to do part 2 of that necessarily. So as you're creating, how do you? Because Griffin, I think you've done a really good job of evolving over time, where it's not the Dylan thing where it's like, well, today I'm now electric and I've changed everything. Like, imagine if Griffin came in here and he's like, well, I'm doing jazz now. You'd be like,
he had a saxophone
congrats.
instead of his guitar with him. Yeah.
Right. I would say congratulations to you if that's really what you want to do. But your music has evolved. Each album has evolved. And I don't know if that's because you as a person have grown or your music's changed.
Yeah, I think that's back to what we were talking about before, and just kind of being the same person in life as I am as a musician. The thing that goes hand in hand with that is that as I grow as a person, then my music subject matter changes as well. And yeah, I mean, I've been married for almost 10 years and I have 2 kids, so I'm not writing all the breakup songs that were on Lost and Found anymore. I'm not really singing about romance in that way. I may be singing about that from the angle of this is what it's like to be married and still have these feelings as a human being, but it's a totally different angle. And like I took on the journey of getting sober years ago, and so writing about those life changes and new things that I'm running into. Most of my writing has always just been about what's going on in my environment with me, what I'm feeling in life, and so if I'm changing, then my work is changing as well.
Yeah,
naturally.
I mean, I guess I would ask Nav, like, what are you drawn towards? And why are you drawn towards that? So if she's drawn to doing the same thing, or he, I don't know, if it's Nav, is that he? If he's drawn towards the same thing, is it because he's doing it for his fans? Because his fans are like, oh yeah, I like this one piece of art that you did, or this one creation that you did, and he's like, oh, that's the one creation people like. I have to replicate that and do it over and over again. That's not the right reason, I think, to create. It's more or less going with what you're drawn towards, like Griffin just described. It's, what are you feeling at the time, and work from that. Don't work from what are people telling me that's good.
Yeah, I agree. I think that sometimes when we're creating, we don't know who we're creating for. We had Andrew Schultz on the show, and he was talking about creating. He creates mostly for himself, and I agree with that. I also agree that, well, I don't picture the exact listener who's listening to this right now, or the reader who's reading. Like, I'm not creating for a specific demographic. I think that exercise is futile, but I do hope that it resonates with at least someone, that someone gets value from it. And of course, it's reaffirming when you see someone singing your songs, or I was on an airplane a while ago, and like the woman in front of me was reading one of our books, and it's like, wow, it's really neat because
you didn't go up and knock it out of her hand like, we don't want you reading our book.
I was like, hey, that book any good?
You're like slicking back your hair.
Just standing in the pose on the book. I'm like, yeah. No, I think that I think it's okay to evolve, and what Griffin said really stood out to. Oh, wait, hold on. That'll spill. That's all right.
It gets every single guest.
It's tricky.
Yeah, it is tricky.
Right. We're setting you up.
Thanks, guys.
No worries.
I think what Griffin said about, like, as I'm changing, my music changes. I think it would actually be messed up if you changed yourself, but then your music stayed the same.
Yeah.
That would. I think it would come out and it would sound disingenuous, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because it wouldn't actually be you anymore. It'd be this former version of yourself. It'd be an affectation in a way.
That happens to me a lot. I'll pick up the song guitar, and my default, some writer thing in me will start singing about some subconscious lines about, breakup song or something, and I'll just go, that's not going on. And like, change directions. Like, I almost have to to override the instinct, because a lot of the writing is just from on the subconscious level. So
dude, I'm trying to figure out a way to squeeze in this story that you were talking about before we started recording this. And I think we can squeeze it in here, meaning you had a song requested that was one of your older songs, popular songs, but you were like, I haven't played this song in years, but I'll give it a try.
This was last night, right?
Yeah, last night.
Where were you, Santa Barbara?
I was in Santa Barbara and playing, and somebody yelled out, "Play Heart of Stone." I was like, I don't know how to play that. I haven't played that in 10 years, probably.
Is there a reason you hadn't played it? Was there
Not particularly. Okay. I mean, it's a little more of a band song, but you just get into a groove of playing your favorite songs, and some of them just fall by the wayside. And so
you have so many songs.
It's
hard for you to
there's hundreds, so it's like I don't know. That doesn't get requested all the time either. So I was like, sure, I'll try to play it for you. And I'm like, this could be bad, but who cares? No big deal. It's just like a small crowd, and I can mess around with them. So I start singing, and I'm halfway through the first verse. I'm like, I don't even know the second line of this song. I have no idea what it is. So I start singing. I don't know what the words are, like just kind of singing it in the melody, and they caught on right away, and they're laughing. And then I went into the chorus, and then the whole second verse was just like a total made-up verse about forgetting the words and driving into Santa Barbara on the Chumash Highway and all this stuff. And then even the bridge was like, if I knew how this could be over, where it's like I'm ready to. That's the actual words of the song, but it's like I can't wait to get through with this because I'm just making this up, and it's really uncomfortable. But they loved it. It was just like the spontaneous thing, and I think to them it was surprising that somebody could just kind of put the words together and have it make sense in that way. They thought that was really, really cool. And I thought, man, I should do this like every show, like purposely sing something that I don't know and make up new words. And it was fun.